I see why when we had that interview, you were asking about what gear we used. I always open up reverb.
We are starting soon.
Hello and welcome back to the Album Book Club. This week we are reviewing Everything Is a Lot by Will Wood and the Tapeworms, and we have a very special guest, John from the Upstart Crows.
Hey guys, how's it going?
We're doing good. How are you?
Oh, we're in the middle of the cooking. We got that EP that's coming out in May, and I've just been getting ready for that. So, just caught me at the end of my workday. So, glad to just talk about music again instead of my normal life.
Yeah, we love talking about music around here. Well, let's get into our top three. My top three songs are Chemical Overreaction / Compound Fracture, 6up50 Cop Out, and White Knuckle Jerk.
All right, my top three are 6up50 Cop Out. Cover this song a little bit. Mine, Skeleton Appreciation Day in Vestal, New York.
Bones.
Yeah.
My top three was Front Seat, 6up50 Cop Out, and Chemical Overreaction.
I think I wrote down a bunch of the just random titles. My top three are The First Step, Lizer Glide, Daydream, and Jim Eat Mushrooms Last Drink.
Okay, I would say my top three being 6up50, Front Street, and Thermodynamic Lawyer.
Ooh, that one's good.
Uh-oh.
I like all the fast, angry ones.
It is a pretty good style for him. Well, let's get into the bottom song. My bottom song is Everything Is a Lot.
Mine is Chemical Overreaction / Compound Failure.
Mine was Thermodynamic Lawyer.
Mine was Thermodynamic Lawyer.
Dang, what?
Oh my god. All right, well, mine is Skeleton Appreciation Day. I know that's the one a lot of people like, but
I don't appreciate that comment. I like that song a lot. But that's not the song we're going to talk about. First song up is 6up50 Cop Out, parenthetical title pro/con. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10.
I gave this one an 8.
I gave this one an 8.
I gave it a 7.
I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Alright.
I don't do the 10 out of 10. Like, I think that's literally impossible to achieve, so I try to keep mine a little realistic.
I have a 10 on here, but we'll get to that later. For me, 6up50, I love the energy that we get right off the bat. Like the downward fall motif in the vocals is something that I really liked. It really got me grooving. I think the beat is like a lot of fun. The way the vocals kind of play into it, I think that's really fun too. So yeah, I just had a great time throughout the whole thing. I think it was one of the better starts to an album for me.
Go ahead, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But yeah, I just really dig this track.
Do you want me to go?
Sure.
This was interesting for me. This was my first exposure to this artist. So this track, I still wasn't quite sure about the style. But I wrote it was well done. I liked the triplet change-ups. It was fast. And I wrote Marching Band Apocalypse, whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from this song was actually after listening to the 2016 version. They fixed pretty much everything that was wrong mix-wise with that version, except the drums. They wrecked the drums. The drums are so good in the original, and then they compress them way too much in this one.
Oh no. So I listened to the original album on accident. So I got the better drums.
So the problem is they only do it on that song.
Oh,
it's
really?
the only time it happens in the whole album. Everything else is the drums are fine, but they sound way better on the original. But yeah, this song, I've known about this song since my last job, which is where I found most of this. So that's a handful of these songs were on that playlist, and they're gonna have higher scores.
Yeah, sax went hard. Piano was a little buried in the mix, just for how important it seemed like it was. I got real mean here though. The vocals are really solid, except for he's just shouting, and his voice gets real thin, and it's just it goes on the entire album, where he's just doing a little too much in that booth, a little too much. It's not bad.
I think some of the later tracks he does sound a little fried on.
That is the bit crusher.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is one of my tops. This is how I was introduced to him, but during the pandemic, this is on my weekly discovery playlist, and I was like, oh, this nails it. But I just like all the sound effects, the just general energy of the whole thing. It's just like you have the whole bit. It's like, am I being detained? Yes, you yes, you are. It's just I love little like ear candy stuff like that, which is so fun.
Yeah, I think Willwood does it a lot throughout this album. I think he does it really well in this song as well. But let's, I think that takes us into song number 2, Skeleton Appreciation Day in Vestal, New York, aka Bones in the parentheses. I gave this one a 9 out of 10.
I gave this one a 7.
I give this one a 6.5.
I gave this one a 6.5.
Give it a 5. I'm being a little nice.
Valid.
I'm just,
I am on my own in this. There's something about that chorus that has crack in it to my ears. I've listened to this in the morning on my work drive, and I was like humming Bones, Bones, Bones all day. It just
It's a catchy
stuck
chorus.
in my head. Yeah, I just absolutely love it. The vibe being swapped to something slower, well, I typically don't like it. I think it's made up for with how catchy it is. And the whatever instrument had that solo there, I don't know what it was. It was weird though. And I think it sounded really fucking cool.
My exact note for that is weird instrument solo go hard.
Mine is
kazoo,
weird
right?
ass instrument solo with sound effects weaved in. Sounded really cool.
That was a kazoo, right?
what was his voice?
It was his voice.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Could've
his
been.
voice. I might be wrong though.
Oh,
I
and maybe
would-
he's like imitating an instrument and he has like an effect on.
I didn't know exactly what it was, but I do think now that someone else says it, I'm not crazy. It sounds like he is just going in there and kind of burrowing into a mic
Yeah.
and throwing on like a bunch of filters. It's probably through a carbon mic too.
You can usually tell when it's the carbon mic, at least on this album.
Yeah, they left it hot.
Yeah, call me Carl on this one, I guess. The energy went down. The pacing score will suffer for this. It's
The
not
pacing
just,
score will remember this.
the pacing score is gonna be rough, but yeah, the piano's nice. It's catchy. Possible kazoo solo is cool, but no, they just brought the energy down. I don't think I was ready for it yet.
I think the kazoo comes in later.
I mean, the note just says kazoo solo, so I'm pretty sure it was this one.
You pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's multiple things. I think it's kazoo, maybe his voice doing some like
I believe it.
with some
Yeah.
filter effect on it. I don't know.
I was gonna say, I think you nailed it. The out-of-tune piano I liked on this one. That's not so much the case later, but I loved the way the bridge chords worked and the way it built up. The only note no one's touched on so far is the mix got kind of congested in a couple spots on this one, and for it to be a remix, I thought that was kind of an interesting choice. So I thought it might have been on purpose to make it a little more lo-fi or help kind of world build a little bit. So that was just the note I had.
We're not going to talk about how this song was written by Jeffrey Dahmer. Come on. Also, I got real mean again. There's a lot of things in this that sound real fun and have been real fun for the last 150 years, and that is the ragtime. And it starts here and it's good here, but it just goes on way too much in this album, where it's just very generic ragtime progression. With a lot of other interesting things happening around it. It's just they're building up from a very simple spot and not innovating it in any way. I think this song started it, and it doesn't end for the rest of the album.
Yeah. Well, what was I gonna? Yeah, like I can appreciate this song, but I 100% agree. Where I don't think it should have been the second song. Like, 6 Up 5-0 was such a great breakneck speed, and like then we just stop on a dime, and we just don't keep going, and it's just maybe if it was, I think I'd like it more if later down in the album, like next, speaking of just the next song that's going to be after this, you have that Front Street, which has such a pickup of pace. You're just like, why are we rubber banding back and forth between the two? Like, let's just go a little bit longer.
Well, speaking of Front Street, let's get right into it. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I gave this one a 6.
I gave it an 8.
Give it a 6.5.
Give it a 9.
Ooh. All right. That intro. Holy shit, that intro. It hits so hard. I like the vocal fry. I like how rough his voice is for that. I think it's really cool. I adore the background of this one. I think it's fucking awesome. And the vibe for me. It's how the vibe has swapped. We're back into it. We have the energy back. It's great. Also, the ending feels like a pretty perfect descent into madness, except it's a little too long. And by a little too long, I mean like 45 seconds too long.
Oh, you mean the Disney villain section?
Yeah, like the last 45 seconds.
I mean, that's this whole album, man. I mean, like,
This was like Scar and the Hyenas, man.
I want to point out the last 2 sentences of my notes. Saloon music, the end gets a little Disney villain song, too much outro, 45 seconds. How are you all reading this off of my notes?
It's the hive mind, bro. It's activated this week. I took all the joy. I took all the happiness.
Carl's about
Carl?
to destroy it.
No.
The Carl of despair.
Yeah, no, I wrote down that the background vocals were cute. I liked them. The mix was weird, hollow again, but it's just, I think it's on purpose. I really do. What happened on this album, and I actually felt like I was starting to go insane. It really, I noticed it in this track, and the drums are not in tempo. Like, they are shifting slightly as they go on, and it gets really inconsistent. And it's not like the parts where they're ramping up and ramping down. It's like however they recorded this, they just weren't playing at a consistent forward momentum. And it gave me so much stress and anxiety that I almost turned it off.
I believe that's the point.
I wonder, well, there's that, and I also, because one thing I really love is an artist's first album, because you really do see a lot of the mistakes and stuff that they're probably still figuring out.
Yeah.
And just I'm wondering if that's a issue. Could that be the reason some of those mistakes couldn't be fixed in the remastered is because it's just burnt to tape or burnt into the recording, so they can't fix it anymore. And it's just a leftover error from before.
It was just really weird because it was close, but it wasn't on. And it was really strange for me to hear that. And as a drummer, I pick up on it really quick. I'm used to spending a lot of time with mets in my ears, metronomes in my ears, so it just stuck out like a sore thumb. It was really interesting. I've never noticed that on an album we've done yet.
I like to play the saxophone, so tempo doesn't really matter. You just kind of make it up. I mean, notes don't really matter either. You just kind of make it up too. So I think that's why I'm just vibing with this all.
This explains why you like the album. You play the saxophone. Okay.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true jazz
Coming together
musician.
now.
I can't help it, bro. I can't help it. Connor, I think we said all your notes, right?
Yeah, you got all of them. Except that this is the second week in a row that we've had the carbon mic.
Oh, yeah.
I think this one's real, though. I don't have as much faith in that on last week.
I wrote a lot, so I guess I'll go bar for bar. Just started. Homie is shouting again. Carbon mic's a little quiet. They did open up the sound in the pre-chorus, which was a really good choice because it did feel like you were kind of walking through an opening, and then ta-da! The sax in the background had an effect on it that I hated. It made it sound fake. No, it made it sound like it was straight out of Logic. And I know for a fact they paid somebody good money to put some good tracks down, and they ruined his sound.
Oh, wait, you know what? I don't think I got the saxophone effect filter in the original.
That is also
I listened to the original.
Yeah. Did you also listen to the original?
Yeah.
That's what you
That's
just
what he just said.
Well, I couldn't. I just didn't hear him.
Background vocals were done well. Some of the layering was like a bit much. And then obviously, oh now it's a Disney villain song at the end.
I don't know. I know you guys I kind of agree that ending definitely goes a little too long, but and I found out about this recently. The Disney villain sound, I think, is just klezmer music, which is just like Jewish folk music. It's just using like that clarinet and like that kind of like harmonic minor like scales and stuff like that. And I love that sound, so I was vibing with it. Like the whole drunken, I think that the song's about like a bunch of people at a bar. So I think that's kind of like the whole vibe of the song. It's just like they have like that drunk singer chant at the end, which I really like.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny to think like that last 45 seconds is what they actually sounded like when they're that drunk, you know? First 3 minutes, that's what they think they sound like. Last 45 seconds, that's what they actually sound like.
I wonder if I'd be curious if that's kind of a thing where it's like, you play your song live and you do something like you improvise every time, and just like they just left that space in there anyways and didn't really flesh it out fully or something. I'd be curious to see what they do on a live show.
All right, I think that takes us into our next track, Aikido, in parentheses, neurotic erotic. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave this one a 6.
5.5.
4.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a 6.
All right, I would like to go first on this one. I've fucked up, guys. I did not read the secondary title of this because I stopped doing that, and I really thought this song was about stalking. Hence why, when you picture it from that lens, all of the lyrics are significantly worse.
Yes.
So I just felt real creeped out the entire time, and I really don't think it being about I can't think of the word right now.
Necrophilia.
Necrophilia, thank you. I don't think that's much better.
You just wanted me to say necrophilia. That's all you wanted. You didn't want to say it, not on cam.
I said it on cam. It's just your favorite thing.
It's not my favorite thing, for sure. No, this song actually scored pretty low for me in this track. I think it's an absolutely wild, context of the song. Like, the chorus is fucking out there. I think it's catchy, but it's missing some of the stuff I really like from Will Wood. It's missing a lot of the big band or more higher energy elements that I like a lot.
It's missing the tempo and the saxophone.
Yeah.
I actually put that down as a positive. I wrote Circus Left Town.
Oh, I like when the circus is in town.
I wrote it somewhere, but is it last week that you said just circus for one of your songs? Yeah. Like, the circus is back 2 weeks in a row.
Look, man, we're going to the circus, and you're mad that the circus is there. I don't know what to tell you, man.
I legitimately cannot get mad at the circus. I'm dating a clown.
I
love the circus.
I just needed a break, and I think that's what it was at this point. I wish he would have tuned the guitar in the beginning. I think that's the only thing you guys haven't said. Oh, I did like the end. At the end, it kind of it was almost like a weird little Green Day bonus track in the middle of the album.
My big note is that I don't like this lyrically, pretty much at all. I understand that was the point, but I don't like it. I do like the punk section at the end, though.
That did go hard. That's what got it 4 points.
Yep.
And not a report to the police.
I guess it also reminded me of something, but I couldn't figure it out. It's like, I don't know what this reminds me of, but I am not really a fan. Beef from the
I would definitely, musically, I don't know. I can't, I paid my $10. I want to go to the circus, and this didn't really give me that circus vibes, And as somebody, I don't know, I listen to a lot of murder folk, so it's a lot of songs about disgusting and gross shit. So maybe I'm just numb to that now, where I'm like, whatever. Yeah, you're talking about some gross shit. Put that to the side. But I don't know. Musically, I was just kind of eh.
It didn't affect me because I think there's a lot of 90s songs that I like that are that way too. There's a lot of those songs that are about just absolutely disgusting things that were on the radio that you don't even think about. So,
Awesome Kingdom.
Yep. It's about kidnapping someone and murdering them.
Jesus.
I think because I listen to stuff that's about that. I'm just going for that specific sound. Like when I want to listen to songs about like death and murder. It's metal. That's what I want.
Yeah.
This is like ragtime. I was gonna say something, but it's not gonna. I don't want that on camera now. It's just like ragtime talking about stuff that's like weird to me.
Yeah, but isn't that like a nice juxtaposition of it though? You got like something that sounds so pop, like kind of almost happy-ish, and you're talking about some real morbid shit.
I am an absolute sucker for that. When a song is super happy but the lyrical content is just abhorrent, you know, I like it a lot. A good example would be, what is it called? I think it's called like Bullet from Hollywood Undead. It's a song about killing himself, but it's the cheeriest song they ever made.
I always think of Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind because that song's about going on like drug-induced sexcapades.
Holy
And
shit.
soccer moms sing it all the freaking time.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. It's
I think I focus so little on lyrics most of the time that when I find that juxtaposition, it just makes me mad.
You're like, it's contradictory. All right. Well, I think that brings us into our next track. White Knuckle Jerk, parenthetical title, Where Do You Get Off? I gave this a 9.5 out of 10.
all right. I gave this one a 4.5.
Gave it a 7.
Give it a 6.5.
Give it an 8.
All right. Real quick. Allow me to explain myself. I'm biased as fuck. I'm just going to be flat out here. I am wholly biased with this song. This is one of my favorites from these guys. I think the flute in the background is one of the best things I've ever heard. It's crazy. The fact that they sneak in the line "heart bluer than my balls" right at the very end, I find that shit hilarious. But yeah, it's totally personal bias. Like, I've been listening to this song for so long. I know it like inside and out, and it's always been on a playlist. It's always going to be on a playlist. I haven't gotten sick of it in like 4 or 5 years. So, yeah.
I'll play counterpoint. The beginning made me really mad because it sounded like Billy Joel, and then I never recovered.
I love Billy Joel. That makes sense. I love Billy Joel. It's fine.
That was pretty much it.
We got another Disney villain song, but Boakley he was killing it. The song is awesome, but this is also the song where I found out that I read something that said this is supposed to be a soundtrack. I can't confirm that, but if it is, that makes the pacing make a lot more sense, and that might have raised this point, but I like this song.
Yeah, first note just says this is the Redditor mod song. But
What does that even mean?
it just think about it. Anyway, just the chops shown in this song showed like how good at music they are. This is a lot of just things that you don't really hear being done anymore that are really cool things. They do like a specific ragtime turnaround that I tried to write out when you can't write rhythm in notes. That they did that everyone does that is really just not heard anymore, or everyone did, I should say. And just really impressed how much they could put together and how much they knew. It was just a really impressive song musically.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I gotta agree with this. This was definitely one of the contributors I was definitely thinking about for the top 3. I just love that just like almost tango-esque vibe at the beginning of it, and just, you were talking about the flute. I was just thinking about that flute.
It goes so hard. It goes
And
so
I'm
hard.
As like someone who's like, with Ray and everything like that, having to like hire musicians and stuff, and the cost of that, I'm like, with all the different types of I don't know if like there's just one guy in the band that can just play like the clarinet, the flute, and the saxophone, or do they just have to hire these things out? But it's great to, I love hearing other instruments besides like your traditional just rock band stuff in songs. So
It would make sense. A lot of people that play woodwinds are what we'd call doublers, or a lot of them end up being triplers. Sax and clarinet are not all that different.
Yeah, no, it's pretty easy to go back and forth between.
Yeah, you pretty much just are a not great clarinetist if you're a good saxophone player, but for this stuff it probably wouldn't matter.
Yeah, I swapped over to bassoon instead.
Yeah. Flute just
I'd be
takes a lot
curious
of
to
air.
is it kind of the thing with like a guitarist and a bass player where it's like, oh, guitar could play bass, but they wouldn't be like a bass player would know, you know?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it has to do with the embouchure more than anything, and the kind of the way the mouthpieces are shaped. But what's really weird is a normal clarinet is essentially equivalent to a soprano sax, and then you have a bass clarinet that's almost the same as a tenor sax. So there's a lot of crossover as far as their ranges and all that stuff. They just have a little different tonalities. If you're a synthesizer person, it's actually kind of interesting because a clarinet makes almost a perfect square wave, and a saxophone makes almost a perfect triangle wave, if I remember correctly.
I think that's what it is.
If you put them on a machine, it's really interesting how different they can sound for being almost the same instrument.
Also, funny enough, the easiest instrument for flute to go to is the French horn because of how similar the embouchure is. Here's your goofy fun fact.
Well, they just both take a ton of air, too. Flute takes the most air out of anything.
All right. Well,
Learning a lot about.
We're all big geeks.
I should get my notepad out.
all right. Let's get into the next song. Cover this song. Parenthetical title: A Little Bit of Mine. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10.
I gave this one a 7.5.
Give this one a 6.
I gave this one a 6.
I'd say 7.
I can get this out of the way.
Damn, Connor. Really? You gonna do it like that?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
This one kind of bored me.
Like, I can start with what I didn't like. It reminded me of Elton John.
That's what I like about it. I love Elton John.
But I liked that the drums were back.
Wait, how did
He
why
loves
did
you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was looking because you peaked the
Yeah, that was why I made that face.
It made me so. I had such a bad reaction to that. I really did. I was like, how could you not like Elton John?
It's fine. We're learning I don't like people that play piano and sing today. I think that's the
Yeah.
I think that's the learning.
Who's
learning
next
curve.
on your list?
I don't know.
He doesn't know anymore.
No.
Those are it because he just hates it.
Billy Joel.
Actually, no.
We were
it's-
just talking about.
Yeah, I
it.
had Billy Joel, but actually I wrote Paul McCartney later. So
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah,
He's got the Beatles, man.
yeah.
Okay. He does something in the song that I really enjoyed. In his vocal cadence and like how he's doing his vocals, he ends up playing into the band a lot. And I think the way he kind of like swaps roles, how he's supporting the band with his vocals, I think that's really cool. You don't see that a whole lot. And I loved the piano. I absolutely love the piano. I said whoever was on the keys needs a raise. Give him more money.
band, so I imagine he can do that.
I was gonna say, I if he doesn't play piano, I would be very surprised.
I say
if
he-
it's
Yeah, I
not
think he
Will.
does.
watched
He
the
did give
live
himself
video.
more money. He fired the rest of the band.
He didn't fire the rest of the band. He just couldn't pay them. That was like
Well,
the
he's-
whole thing.
He's currently actually going to be going on tour again soon, and he literally has Will Wood shows and Tapeworm shows based on, like, I think just location, because it seemed like most of, like, Northeast shows are Tapeworm shows.
Yeah, it's getting everybody together, getting them all paid. There was a period in time where he had
band back
trouble.
together.
Yeah, there was a period in time where he had trouble performing live because he was performing solo, and venues were like, "Hey, we're paying for Willwood and the Tapeworms. Where are the Tapeworms at?" And he just became Willwood after that and started performing under a different name to help clear up that confusion. I believe he still works with the Tapeworms a lot, especially in like the Willwood music. So, you know.
All right. As far as this song goes, this had the best master so far, or the best remaster of all of them. It felt the least congested, still a little congested. I did not like the fact that vocals were supplementary here. It's not their goal. They should be the focus, damn it. The piano was the focus in this one, which is cool, but it just felt like it needed a little more, and then the vocals didn't really fledge out much ever, and this whole album so far has just been like really like horny and it's just getting to me.
There is a weird level of that in this album.
It's like a weird level of like I sniff your hair when you're sleeping.
Jesus, Logan. He does talk about like a woman, like we don't know if it's like a specific one or some type of, or women a lot in this album, or like love or whatever. I don't know if it's exactly a woman. He doesn't really mention that in a couple of the songs, but
He may be sniffing the cat hair when while they're sleeping. I don't know.
holy shit, Logan.
But it's no, the whole point of this song just felt like an "I need you." Like it was just like "I need you," and I didn't know what he was talking about, but I used context clues from the rest of the album to assume it was a person.
I don't know, man. I think I kind of like the desperation in songs like that. You know, like you want a thirsty song. You don't want a song to be like, I guess I like you a little bit. That's, you know, whatever. No, I want a guy simping hard in my love songs. So I will say, which will probably show up more in my score, but a lot of these song order is so out of place. Like I could see this as more of a closer to the end of the album kind of thing. You know, a ramping towards the end of the party a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of.
So you don't think it's about drugs? You don't think he's like pining for drugs?
Oh, that's.
You know what? I can see that.
Probably, and I feel like drugs are also personified too, because that's what people tend to do. It just comes across as grody, which I mean,
I believe
that's what it's
the
supposed
point.
to be. Yeah,
I mean, I don't mean to be that guy, but I've met a lot of musicians. Just assume drugs.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he had like drinking issue or a drug issue, but
He
you know,
had
I don't want to
both.
talk out of
Song
school.
coming up, it's definitely a drinking issue at least.
No, it's like public knowledge that he had
Yeah.
both, and like he's dealt with a lot of mental illness too.
Actually, there's the
That's
mushroom. There's the
pretty much-
mushroom song too. So
Pretty much all we know about this guy is that he did a lot of drugs, he drinks a lot of alcohol, and he has a lot of mental illnesses, and that's like it. He's very private about the private life. Well, let's get into the next track, which is Thermodynamic Lawyer Esquire, comma GFD. I give this an 8 out of 10.
I give this one a 6.5.
gave this one a 5.
Give this one a 4.
Damn.
I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
You know what? I like your style. See, he has some good opinions.
We should do a podcast after this.
You know what? You're right.
Go back.
Only Willwood. We only listen to Willwood.
Yeah.
The
Or Disney
vibe.
villain music, as they're calling it.
Hey, listen, I like Disney villain music. I like it. It's fun.
That's what I'm working. That's what I'm making, man. That's what I'm trying to make. That's the target I'm aiming for.
All right. Well,
To be fair, the ones that I've said had Disney villain music are like the ones that are scored higher. So
You can be in our podcast then.
Connor's invited.
Carl and I are out, I guess.
Yeah, you're the assholes.
Yes.
I mean, everybody has to have one.
unless this one's Disney villain
Yeah, I got
music,
two.
then I'm out.
I thought you were gonna say unless you're the Queen of England, because I was gonna say correct, but that's a fact.
Anyway, the vibe in this song is fucking amazing. The horns go super hard. I love like this weird like bounce yet heavy feel we get with them. The specific line that says foam at mouths full of acid like sounds like he has a mouth full of acid, and I think that little ear candy's cool. There's more. It's just like more descent into madness music, and I fucking love the vibe.
Maybe it's because you listened to the original, but I could not tell what he was saying on here,
Really?
like at all.
Oh no. The lyrics
Did you guys
matter.
get in the remix? Did you get like the little? I feel like I heard somewhere where they removed the tags at the beginning and end. You guys get those? Like the absolutely reprehensible behavior. Did you get any of that?
What?
Oh, they-
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
they took those out.
Yeah, those weren't there, and all we got was way too many vocal effects. Not
Yup.
enough headroom, and any amount of headphones can exist for what was played.
Yeah, I wrote the mix is very meh at best. That was my exact.
I can handle the good real quick. The stereo effect towards the end was pretty cool. That's about all I had. The Bit Crusher was working overtime on these vocals. If I can hear the Bit Crusher and see the settings you had it set to in my head, that's a problem. And yeah, of the lyrics I could understand, I was not a huge fan of them.
Yeah, I at one point in my notes referred to this as outsider art, to which immediately after it just said, I lied.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite there, but yeah, I liked the 6 or 12/8. That's always a thing for me. I always like when it changes it up a little bit. But this one, they did the slow trope again, and I don't know if this was the second time or the third time. And by that I mean they like the song slows down, and then it like becomes this big like marching band final chorus thing at the end, and that happens at least 1 or 2 more times on this album. And maybe it's just part of the style. It's kind of like the last chorus where all the people sing together in the Disney movie, but it just I don't know. When things happen again and again, it tends to take points away from me. I don't know.
I wonder, would it make a difference if it was, say, like, because he's got a couple albums at this point, if he like shifted some songs around? I think it's just too much of the same trick in a single album.
I don't know, because I don't know. It may just be part of the style, and I don't know if this was necessarily a great. It's never a good intro to listen to a whole album and like know you're gonna listen to a whole album with something that's new, and this was definitely just new for me today.
What can I say? I fucking love this song. It has the exact energy I'm looking for. I think it has a really. I don't know if this is the bit crusher. I'll be honest, guys. My like mixing knowledge is I just play the guitar. I just play the guitar and I smile and I sing the songs. But the just vocal distortion I thought was pretty good. I was also realizing, because I have a personal thing with like music is for anyone to listen to, but the lyrics are for the fans. That's something you go back afterwards and you listen for, or you look them up. And I don't think this this is going to be a crazy comparison, but this lyrically kind of reminds me of Killer Queen by Queen. Like, just like this whole just... I don't know if there's...
I can see where you're coming from with that.
I couldn't hear
yeah,
any
just
of the
the...
lyrics.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Oh, this is more of like I've read the lyrics afterwards and I've looked at them and I'm like, oh, this is kind of a similar parallel of you just talking about this woman doing like the same thing of comparing like what they do and.
Yep. By the way, the lyrics here are kind of intense.
I mean,
yeah. I'm usually.
Are any of you guys lyricists?
Nope. I don't pretend to be.
Famously
No, okay.
not, actually.
I'm the only one who really reads into vocals or lyrics or any of that.
It is such a uphill battle for me to write lyrics, and he is just throwing his metaphors and like the meat of lyrics. He is just stuffing it into all of these songs, and you're just like, I'd be lucky if I had half as many of these like really juicy lines in a song.
Yes, so many of these lines like toe the line between like just a full acid trip and coke. You know, there's just some kind of drug involved when you are like. The first lyric of this song is "I hold myself in contempt."
Sorry, I just wanted.
Which I think is from Liar Liar.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
It's a sample.
I really like the idea of a musical turducken. I just want you to know that. That's what I was thinking about when you said it has all the meat. That's all. Sorry.
All right, are we all ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, the next track is Red Moon, and I gave it a 9 out of 10.
We can flip that around. Just rotate it 180 degrees. I gave it a 6.
Okay. 6.5.
6.75.
Oh.
I'm gonna go with an 8.5 again. Pretty high up for me.
Good opinions. Okay, flat out, it's another one where I'm biased, guys. This was my very first Will Wood song. This is my introductory song to him, and what one to start out with. It doesn't have a whole lot of the big band stuff or crazy shit going on in it. It's kind of boring compared to like the rest of his tracks. And I felt that way while I was listening to it in the context of the album. However, I love it so near and dear. Like, realistically, it's more like a 7 for me. But I've heard it for so long. It's on so many of my playlists. It's, a 9 out of 10. I love it. It's never going to get old. I'm always going to want to listen to music about the Big Red Moon.
Yeah, my only note I have is it takes more than this to tango. Oh no, I did like the chimes, but it reminded me of a tango, and I don't know why that makes me angry, but it did today. A lot of things made me angry today for no reason.
Listen, this one's fun. I like the vibe. I like it's catchy. it's a complete 180 from the last song on this album. This again is tanking the pacing score, which is nothing against this song. It just didn't do as much as the other ones. Looking at analytically, because like Carson, I've heard this song forever.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It is unfortunately not the best song called Red Moon.
That is true. Still super good.
Red Hot Moon by Rancid is better, but
This salsa samba style is always fun. The saxophone was the focus for like weird specific sections of the song, and it just kind of never made sense to me as to why. And luckily you guys didn't have to deal with it, but the vocal mastering on this was just bad. It was just plain bad. There were effects that shouldn't have been there. There were effects that needed to be there. It was way too low or way too high. I think somebody like sneezed and then pushed like all the sliders into like random directions and then just rolled with it.
Is this the point where I talk about how the remaster's never actually better and they should just stop doing them?
It sounds like the
think it's
remaster was ass. Oh, sorry.
I think it's literally just because like there's so many samples in this thing, and they were just like not making. I bet it was like a money issue where just like you're not gonna pull as much if you keep having to like pay out these other people these references because you were a small artist at the time when you were doing it.
That actually makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I have this general belief that remasters are never better and you should just leave them alone. Except for when they kind of fixed some of the Beatles stereo mixes, but that's because they thought stereo was a toy and not a serious thing.
next time it is an option to do the original or the remaster on this show, calling it right now, we're doing the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we all ready to move on? Okay. Next song is Laser Daydream. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I give this one a 6.
I give this one a 6.
Is that how you pronounce it? I give it an 8.
Yeah. Laser
Lysergide.
Yeah, and you're asking the wrong guy for that.
This is like, I'm not calling you out. I'm just genuinely confused as to what
It's
the hell
the-
this title is.
It's the closest I can get it. You know, this sounding like an actual thing. Laser just does not do it for me. It may be
Fuck
Laser
Daydream. I gotta go 7.
Yeah, I agree. This does kind of start. Well, it doesn't really start. It continues a little bit of a downswing from the energy in Red Moon, which is odd. You know, Willwood, you've been roller coastery the whole time. Why aren't I getting an energy track? Either way, I love the little weird synth noises that we get sprinkled throughout this. I just kind of miss where the energy went. You know.
This was the one that got my Paul McCartney's ghost is ticked. If you guys didn't know, Paul McCartney died in 1966, or at least there's a lot of very serious evidence towards it, but we'll leave that alone. I kind of had enough of the out-of-tune piano at this point, but the song is really well written. I like the sound effects, and I really like the background vocals when they came in. They were really, really well done.
Yeah, this one kind of was just here for me. It's another upbeat track with probably less upbeat lyrics. It's fine.
Yeah, this one pulled back, I think, to just the right spot for me. The melody was very fun. Backup vocals were mixed right. Piano was going hard. It just kind of was the perfect storm of, like, this was at the right spot at the right time when I needed it. So it sounded great.
Yeah, I think, like I keep saying with the pacing, I think it's kind of in a better location for the other. Like, this is kind of where I would expect a lot of those like slower songs to start coming in. So like this is the right point in the album where I would want that like less like wild horns and everything to start coming in.
All right, let's get into the next track. The First Step, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Give it a 3.
Damn.
Oh, I give it a 7.5.
10 out of 10, baby.
Are you
Really?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I give it an 8. I'll just say my thing before we go back.
All right. Let me get this out of the way. This is 100% an ironic 10 out of 10. Edward 40 Hands was mentioned, and you cannot give a song anything less than a 10 when Edward 40 Hands is mentioned.
That's what I'm talking about lyrically. Like, that's like a great line to just throw in there that you wouldn't think to throw in there. It's just, and he's got all those little nuggets everywhere.
His vocal cadence in this one is crazy. I fell in love with it when he started doing all the fast shit. I was like, when did Will Wood turn into a rapper? What's going on here? But I'm so into it. The actual vocal work behind it as well, insane. The intro is like designed to make you feel crazy, and then it slaps you into the tightest groove I've ever heard. I love it.
Sorry, I vastly disagree. I hated all the vocals on this track so much that, like,
Wild.
I almost turned the album off. Like,
Really?
I almost rage quit here. I almost rage quitted in a couple tracks again, but I almost rage quit here because anytime someone does a jazz impression, like, I'm done. So, like, you know, the squeak boop biddly bop, whatever he was trying to do is just not a thing.
Those were actual words.
Well, then whatever it was wasn't very well enunciated.
Holy hell, this is gonna be a wild difference between the two. I feel like the vocal mastering, whatever happened in the remaster there, because like in the original track, that cadence is tight. Like you can hear distinctly each one of those like tight words at the end there where he's just going super fast.
Oh, I 100% thought he was just doing like scat.
No, it's like a full like rap thing. Like he has like full lines in there and lyrics. It's crazy.
Wild. I thought the intro was also incredibly creepy, and then it just kind of went nowhere. So,
Oh yeah, the weird background or backwards vocals.
I meant to reverse those before we started. Oops, that's on me. I was gonna figure out what he said there, but
We'll reverse it after all that.
yeah. Contrary to what Carl said, I thought the vocals and the saxophone carried this. And I thought it was well done for being an upbeat song with super dark lyrics. It's nothing we haven't seen, but it was done really well.
This is the upbeat song with super dark lyrics album.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just changed the title. That's what it is. Yeah, I also kind of just like the that, you know, we're dealing with like a lot of genres and styles throughout the album. I kind of like this change with the funky-esque kind of rhythm with it. I really enjoyed.
I was wondering what it was.
Yeah, it was. For me, that comes in right after the intro. That groove that they hit you in is just so nice. Anybody else got anything?
I wrote
Nope.
that it was better than Metallica.
That's true. All right, let's get into the next track with a super long title. Jimmy Mushroom's Last Drink, Bedtime in Wayne, New Jersey. I gave this a 7 out of 10.
I gave this one a 5.
Damn.
I gave it a 5.75.
Give it a 7.5.
I gave it a 7.
This one is kind of just here for me. I'm not gonna lie. I still really love his vocal work. I think I may just really like his voice. Like it sits really nice in my ears. It's just missing a lot of the background stuff that I really like. And while he can stand on his own, I think his vocal performance is really nice. It's just missing so much that it kind of takes away from the song for me. And this is where I feel like the album's pacing kind of helped itself. How these songs, the past couple songs, have all kind of melded to a slower tempo. So, yeah. Well, not the ending of the last track, but
Yeah, so this song lost 2 points right out the gate for the song title being so long. I actually did that before I even turned it on. I did like the marimba, and the song was actually pretty catchy. So I think realistically it's probably a 7 with the rest of you guys.
I'm gonna disagree. I think in its album that goes all over the place and have hit all of the places in terms of like what the songs sound like that this has, a beach song did not make any sense to be here. And also, I did not like the vocal cadence at all on this song. I could not stand it.
I didn't have anything about that on this one. Damn.
I didn't like it.
I'm gonna disagree again. This shit went hard. Marimba, very much needed. I needed something soft, nice. The vocals were still ass, but the marimba just carried. So needed.
I mean, I gotta agree with you. The marimba's great. I might actually. I just realized I was looking up the lyrics right now while we're talking, and I realized which song this was. I was mixing them up. Actually, probably get this closer to a 6. It just sounded like a Jimmy Buffett song to me. It's just not. I'm always like, eh.
That's probably why I liked it.
I love Jimmy Buffett.
I mean, for me, I
Look,
gave
I
it a
don't go to the
7.
beach to relax. Okay.
For me, when I'm listening to Will Wood, I don't think I give anything really below a 7. Like, even his worst stuff, I'm like, it's okay. Like, it could be objectively horrible, and I'm so
True.
like, you know what? It's pretty good.
Oh, definitely. I think I'd be a lot harsher if it wasn't for the fact that I already like this artist, but, you know.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what it is for me. My personal bias definitely got in the way of a lot of this album. That's because I've listened to it several times.
Yeah, I'll definitely say it again. Like, it's a lot to listen to a whole album of this if you weren't ready. And I think, especially like the next few scores, really got affected there.
Yeah, I think what helped.
I'll be
me-
honest, guys. I'm definitely more of a singles guy. Like, I have been spoiled. The internet has spoiled me completely. I don't normally listen to albums all the way through. I'm usually like picking my favorites and I play those, which I have a lot from Will Wood. But yeah, going through the whole album, I'm like, oh, this is interesting to just see how this is broken down, how they wrote it one right after another.
The hell we go through every Friday.
What I was going to say is we hate ourselves, but yeah, you nailed it.
True miters. The word.
All right, let's get into the next song, Chemical Overreaction / Compound Fracture. This is my 10 out of 10.
It's a bit of an overreaction, but the song's a 2 for me.
Fuck
Oh my
you.
god. I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 9.
I agree with you. You're awesome. Listen, my first notes from this song are just the intro of him screaming. There's so much energy and it hypes me up so goddamn well. It's crazy. It's peak. It's peak Will Wood for me. Like, this is everything I want from him. This is everything I want out of its sound. It has a fucking kazoo going ham in the background. That's all I wanted from the weird instrument category, sure. It for me, it's pretty much perfect. I don't really have a lot of notes for here other than I fucking loved it and I'm biased as hell.
Am I up?
Yep.
I wrote that the energy was up and the style sort of started to make sense here. I liked the guitar solo. I could not stand any of the effects that were put on the vocal. And then in all caps, I have written, "Kazoo, are you serious?" And I picked up my notepad and threw it after writing that. I literally was just furious. It just, I hate kazoo. I don't know what it was about, like, that being my last straw
A
for this.
kazoo is an instrument.
It's a toy.
You
It's
know what?
still an instrument.
As somebody who also docked a song 5 points last week for having an instrument that I didn't like, I get it. I get it.
No, I just this song was like I was ready. I was like, okay, it's got to come back here at the end. You know, this has to be the build, and I was ready for it. And then the kazoo happened, and I was like, you know what? And then that was it. that was the. That was
Replace
the
the
end for me.
kazoo with the saxophone. What do you rate it?
Well, it's probably like a 6 or 7. It's probably not bad.
Yeah, we're back to the cowboy music style this album brings. I have written here another Costco classic because this was on the work playlist at my last job, and there's going to be a bias there to any song that was. If you ever need to clean something really fast, put this song on. It works. There's a ton of like background accent parts that are really good. The piano shows up a couple times, it's cool. The electric guitar that isn't the solo one, there's one like instance of it being the like background melody part. It's really cool. It happens. There's just a lot going on in this song. There's a couple things you can pick out that are really good, and also the energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, you guys hit a lot of it. Homie was witchy taking the whole time. He needed a breath. And I think this was when time and money started running out, or because he had been shouting for the prior, 11 songs. The voice was fried. There was a lot of strain, and could definitely use a week or two of nothing and then taking a couple lines over.
I kind of like how like scratchy it is though. That's part of the appeal for me. Like especially during the screams, Like when he is like doing that like screaming part in the beginning of like just like yeah 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 yeah, and like it's all
Oh, yeah,
fucking
definitely.
fried. It gives me such an energy boost. I fucking love it, especially right at the end.
That's part of what makes like the first Beatles album that got them famous. The album that it is John Lennon fries his vocals during that album, and especially during like Twist and Shout. He's literally like getting blood on the microphones. Also,
Which how do you start singing regular? Like I've done shows where I'm just screaming my voice like raw, and then I'm like, how do I? Okay, just sing like a normal person now, because I've watched some like live videos of like Will Wood performing some of these songs, and you're just like, how do you come back from that? You know, how do you do these slower songs and still being like able to hit those notes? It's impressive.
So this is unrelated, but no, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument. Okay, we can go ahead.
But this fits in that catalog of Will Wood where it's like you take a bunch of Adderall and you just clean your whole apartment. Like that's
Yep.
and that's what I'm going for Will Wood.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I want that energy.
It's peak.
I want to have a
Will
panic
Wood.
attack while I'm listening.
I feel like that's his entire genre. Have a panic attack while listening.
Look, I call us when I like to mess with people with our music, I call our stuff anxious rock, and I would put him under that category of just.
The way I described it to my brother earlier is if you took rock, a weird part of psychedelic, a weird part of ska, and then you just put it in a blender, and then you added a bunch of extra shit to it, and then you took shit out, and then you put samples in. That's kind of what you get here. And even then, that's not super accurate.
Yeah, I definitely had a panic attack earlier when the kazoo came on. That's definitely exactly what happened.
And that was what it was meant to do.
The way I described it to my dad was I didn't, and he just turned it on, and he made it about 5 seconds into the first song before turning it off. And saying he wasn't going to watch this week.
All right, let's get into the next song. What would be the last track for me and John over here for the original album? Everything Is a Lot. I give it a 4 out of 10.
I give it a 5.
Here's a here's gonna be the issue.
There's differences.
For me and John, on this listen, the industrial sounds and the last song from the remaster are tacked on to Everything Is a Lot. So, the first couple minutes, I do rate like a 6 out of 10. You know, I think it's pretty nice. But we'll get into the later notes of why that score drops. So, by 2 points. Once we review that song. But I think the beginning of this for me, it was just a pretty nice track.
We need to do scores, but also the combined of both tracks for me would still be a 4.5. So I just wanted you to know I scored something higher than you on this album.
It's crazy. I did give this one a 6.
I gave this one a 6.
I went 4. I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of like you said, where it is 2 songs in one. But I just maybe it's just like my capitalist mindset. I want a song that fits in that box. I don't need there to be spaces in between. Just I can't get to my phone. I'm in the middle of something else. just play the song and just then do the cut. So maybe I would have liked that in the remastered version.
Yeah, in the remastered version it is split. So for you guys, what did the split off track, but just the intro, sound like to you?
The next track sounds like 2 full minutes of industrial static.
Okay, cool. So it splits pretty much 2 minutes in.
Yeah, it
and
does.
then does the entire
It splits right at the noise. That's what I was going to say. Do you want to go ahead and just do our scores for track 14 and then we'll just talk about them like it's all one?
That's fair.
Well, I also ranked that individually, so.
Okay, so what's your score for the...
1.
Okay, see, that makes sense. So mine was a 4 for the last track.
Mine was a 1.
2.
Okay, well, I mean, that makes sense, because I was just curious. I actually probably am the one that would like industrial noise music the most out of everyone, being a percussionist. I found the rhythm and the noise and found that very peaceful compared to the rest of the album, weirdly enough.
I did not find the rhythm and the noise. In fact, 30 seconds into it, I was like, okay, what's happening? Because I still had 4 minutes of song. And... it just, as the longer it went on, the more mad at it I got, and then we only ended up getting a minute of music at the tail end.
If you call that music, I called it screaming over top of a piano.
Yep.
But it was how I felt at the end of the album.
In the original, it's more like chanting music. It's actual
It was a
notes.
chant in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a crowd chant with music playing.
Yeah, but the problem is it also sucks.
It's
so
just the crowd chant in the original.
it's bad. 2 minutes of industrial static just to give me half of a song that is bad. Was not a fan of this last song.
You know, you would hate Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
God damn.
The one before it was alright. It would have been a decent ending, and in the remaster, it gives you an option to turn it off after this song, which you should. But I mean, it's fine. I would probably end it 2 songs before, but
No Chemical Overreaction is wild.
what? No, like
Oh wait, remaster.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind.
I would end with that one
I would also end with that one.
if I knew going in, but
We'll
I
get to
think it
it.
would depend on honestly if you were to ask me how I would reshuffle these songs, because it's like how if you want to go with like a slow, like you go crazy ham at the beginning and then just slowly just slower and slower and then build back up at the end. Yeah, honestly. But if we're just going off of what we have here, I think Chemical Overreaction would definitely be the ending.
yeah, usually I'm the one who brings up the restructuring, but I think 3 songs in, I was like, there's no chance. I don't even have a shot at trying.
Before we
You
get-
gotta scrap it. You gotta scrap it completely and start over.
Yeah, I would need to see all of them in front of me and then just start with nothing and piece it back together.
Before we naturally roll into it, do we have any more notes for the last song?
It's
it's
beeps
bad.
and boops and shit, man.
Okay, because we could just roll
Yeah,
right
no,
into it.
let's roll right over into pacing. I
Right.
gave it a 7 out of 10.
So I gave it 2 scores because of something Connor said a second ago. I originally gave it a 3, but if it's a soundtrack, I think a 7 makes sense.
That is a good point. I think as an album, I'm giving it a 5, but if it is a soundtrack to something that I can find at some point, it'd probably get like a 6 or 7.
Yeah, I gave it a 6, and if this is a soundtrack to something, I don't want to see that something.
That is.
I was very
It may be like the
disturbed.
soundtrack to Train Spotting, you know?
Look, if I want to find, now that you've said that this is a soundtrack to something, it's like I did a lot of theater, so I know a lot of musicals, and if this was like some type of weird musical,
That'd
I
be
gotta
really cool.
I gotta get off this call now and go find it, because it
So
sounds incredible. It sounds like Hades Town, but better.
I was thinking it was something that was probably directed by Tim Burton, but one of the ones that didn't make it out to the light of day.
Honestly, I'm gonna give the pacing a 2, because like it's not the vibe, man. Like,
All right,
yeah, I guess it really depends if it is a musical or if it's like it's a soundtrack.
allow me to defend myself on an artistry standpoint, only because the whiplashy shit, I believe, is supposed to kind of play into the like drug addict, alcohol abusing character that he's playing. I believe it's supposed to thrash you about, make you feel weird. Like even we'll get into the album art, but even on the album art, the full like ride in is like a roller coaster on the tongue. You know, it's supposed to be this crazy thing that thrashes you about and whips you back and forth through the genres and like makes it so that you you know, kind of feel whiplash. And I could see like where like you would want to do something like that in like almost like a concept album sort of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what this whole album's about. It's like about him going crazy. It's about him
It
his like
would have to
descent into madness. You know.
For the pacing to make any sense, it would have to be.
I say I can respect that, but I think also the intention was to pace it like shit to thrash you about. Sometimes when you do those decisions, you lack something else for the art itself.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, all right, I'm gonna take the hit here because that's not the point. The point of this wasn't to have good pacing. That's true. The point of this was to be like, you're anxious now, die. And
But like the whack pacing helps with that, right? Like you
well, yeah,
don't know
that's
what's
what
gonna.
that's what I'm saying. If the pacing was a 10 out of 10, it wouldn't work.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, I love concept albums, and I think if you're going to do something like that and make that choice, unfortunately, you kind of have to add some stuff outside the album to justify it. Like I suggested that Henry Turner album by the Taxpayers to you guys,
Yep.
my other choice, they give you like a novel about the guy to help tell the story of this person they're writing all these songs about. So you get some more context in relation. So I think if you're going to try and do a concept album, you kind of have to give exterior art to help justify those decisions.
Yeah, I know.
Otherwise, it just looks like bad decisions.
Queensryche, for a good few of their albums, would do all of their videos. Then they would just be a long movie that they would play in the background at their concert.
You know, that's something I didn't mention about the last song here. A note I had while listening to the last song, with it all put together, I really felt like it needed something else to go alongside of it. Like, it felt like it was supposed to be on top of some kind of video, especially in like the industrial sounds portion. Like, it feels like there should be something else going on that like helps support this. It's weird.
You guys would also just hate music concrete. Like I actually enjoy some of the recordings that are just like sounds put together. I don't know. I guess I'm weird.
I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, we knew that, but no, yeah. This album was such a struggle for me, and like I think the pacing is part of what drove me into madness. Is because like it's such a roller coaster that like I would start being like, oh okay yeah, and then I'd get furious again.
Would you say the album that makes you go insane made you go insane?
It literally like seriously, like during Chemical Overreaction Compound Failure, I felt like I was losing my mind.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point. That's so cool. I'm over here, I'm like geeking out. I'm like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah,
He went insane.
yeah. It's about time Album Book Club caused me actual psychological trauma. No, it really,
D4 psych
But
damage
Metal's
coming
not
your
gonna-
way.
it really wasn't that
Metal's
bad.
trying too hard to accomplish that goal, but now you just have to listen to weird cabaret music to accomplish that.
Yeah, and that would make sense for me. It would. You know, I did some musicals, and I've been in the pit. Actually, I did Cabaret in the pit once. You know, that would make sense.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it makes sense. We ready to move on?
I believe so. Next up, we have album art. I gave this album art a 9 out of 10.
Oh, sorry, it's my turn. I give this a 7.
What?
Gave it a 7.5.
Gave it an 8.
Give it a 7.
I
Just
really-
because I want. Well, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I really dig the art. That's all it is for me. I really think it fits with the album. The just crazy, out there, weird drawing, and I love how the text is stylized to match. This looks like what somebody who is on a lot of drugs would draw themselves as, and I feel like that's the point.
Well, you know, it kind of looks like the drawings in my notes for this album.
See, you're going crazy, dude.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I might also be going
You're
crazy.
This
Losing your
album
mind,
worked.
bro.
This album worked on you, man.
All right, somebody tell me if I've gone crazy. Are the two album arts on Apple Music different?
I believe
They're different
so.
shades of, I guess, gray, right?
Is it a wider shade of pale?
No, it's a higher definition, and
Is
it's
that
like
all it is?
it's like a slightly warmer white on the original.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think anyone else got that one.
Nope. No, sometimes they just.
Holy hell, the high definition photo looks crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely lets you know what you're getting into, kinda.
I just think
That-
it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. It's not doing, I mean, it's doing a lot, but like, kinda not. I don't know.
I mean, you've seen me draw though. Like it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. Good art.
I think I would appreciate it more. It's one of the downsides with this type of style, and maybe it's just because I'm mostly looking at this stuff through streaming, is that there's so much detail that I cannot see. And maybe if I had a vinyl or something like that, where I can see a big image of it and see all the details, I think I'd give it a higher score. But yeah,
That's something we're all huge proponents of, is owning vast libraries of archaic music technology. Vinyl being our
I live in
favorite.
New York, guys. I don't have the room for that.
Yeah, it weighs a lot too. When I moved, I actually figured, like, I looked up the average weight of vinyl, like, per record, and then I started figuring out the structural engineering because I was worried about putting it all on the second floor. It's a neat problem.
Hilarious. All right. Well, I believe that brings us to album overall. I gave this album overall a 8.75 out of 10.
I went back and forth, but I'm gonna say 6.5.
Give it a 7.5.
I gave it a 6.5.
9.
Okay. I know I'm biased here. I fucking love Willwood. But I can't overlook some of the whiplashy stuff. Like, yeah, I attributed a lot of it to, like, artistry or whatever, but it still whips you back and forth. It can still be kind of a rough listen, especially if this is your first time getting into Willwood. Some of the songs are really out there. Some of the lyrics are really, really out there. But overall, I think it has such a nice energy. It's all of the songs on this are so much fun, other than the last one. That's the one exception. I don't like the last song, but I don't have to. I can just skip it. I think the album is pretty solid otherwise.
Yeah, I went through a journey. The first score I wrote was 4, and I felt like that was really gratuitous at the end of the album. But then I calculated my average, which was a 5.46. And as we were talking, I kind of was like, okay, maybe this is a slow burn. Maybe I ought to give it a second chance. So I bumped it a point for that. Because that's what I usually do. If it's something that, like, okay, it wasn't the day for me. It was just... I just didn't get it today.
I think you should definitely give a listen to the original album as well.
I think also just sprinkle it, you know?
Yeah.
Don't do the full album. Do one song at a time, you know?
I will say
Inoculate yourself with it.
When I first got into Willwood, that is what I did. Like, I listened to 1 or 2 songs of his, like Red Moon and, what is it, 650 Cop Out. I listened to those 2, and then I kind of branched out, found the Dr. Sunshine album and all that shit. And it was more of a slow burn for me as well.
Yeah, I'll have to mix it up. You know, I didn't have coffee for a long time growing up. This is kind of a really interesting story. So I remember getting to college and someone being like, oh, you're falling asleep. Here's a cup of coffee. And me taking a sip and being like, why did you hand me shoe juice? Did you just brew this in your boots? This is terrible. And finally it took someone to, like, I went and got, like, super girly iced caramel thingamabobs and loved them. And was like, oh, this is just a milkshake. And they were like, no, it's caffeinated. And that's the story of how I became addicted to coffee. Like, maybe I just have to smooth it with other things at first, and I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, since I have found this album and this artist, it has been a handful of songs go on a playlist, and I think that is what it's perfect for. 7.5 is this album as a project. I like a lot of these songs. I don't like a lot of these songs together.
Yeah, I think in the context of an album, this doesn't work in almost any way. Even if, like, you want to go for it's a soundtrack, it's got to be a pretty demented movie for this to be the soundtrack.
Now, Logan, I will bring up, you felt that way about another album I really liked earlier.
No, I understood what that one was. I just thought the concept of it was stupid and have since changed my mind on spoken word music.
Oh.
I don't think the concept of this one is stupid. I just think writing an album with the design of melting your brain is going to melt yours in the process. And clearly it happened. This is not bad in any way. Like I said, 6.5 is not terrible. If you take these out as singles, I bet it's way better scores across the board. It's just as a project, it's a lot. And I listened to the remaster, which was apparently even more.
It sounds a lot like the remaster was not nearly as good as the original. It sounds like some interesting decisions were made.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think what this is, and I think a lot of artists can speak to this, where it's that first album. Again, this is the first album of Willwood and the Tapeworms. I'm assuming that it's like, you know, when you just start writing a bunch of songs so you can start doing shows, and these are the songs that you do at the show. You know, it's not necessarily cohesive per se, but it's just like the ones that, you know, first thought, best thought, get these songs written so we can start playing. We have enough to play a gig. Hey, we got to make a record. Let's just do those songs. And you're just throwing them on an album. I think, and plus, it's the age of the internet. I don't feel like people are necessarily designing their songs for albums anymore. More for just like releasing, you know, more contained individual stuff. So I think in his later work, you could definitely tell that there's more of a album in mind. Whereas I think this is just a little bit, this is just a group of songs that he wrote at the same time.
This is him throwing noodles at the wall.
I totally
Yeah.
get it. We talk about that all the time. How like, a lot of times we'll say, oh well, that probably should have just been an EP. Just take our favorite songs off of here and give us an EP or maybe even an LP instead of a whole album. But that all depends on what the record label decided they wanted or what he could get published or there's so many other variables we don't know to be able to say all those things. But we do say that pretty often too, is that like we are definitely not in an album generation. That thank goodness for vinyl sort of bringing that back a little bit, but even then most people that listen to vinyl as full albums listen to them turned down in the background. They don't listen to them as a in your face kind of thing. So it's just kind of a lost art, and on a first album that's really hard to pull off anyway.
All right.
I believe that takes us to our favorite time, our favorite part of the show, our favorite segment, and that is the Plug Yo Shit segment, where you get to shout out everything you got going on and coming up.
Oh, that's me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh, you guys gonna plug your own stuff, of course. Of course. I'll plug our new single "Pray," which is very much inspired by Will Wood. Apparently, looking at all the people commenting that on our TikTok. We got that. That's currently out. We've got an EP coming out this May. Little Broken Pieces. That's basically it. If you're in the Brooklyn area, we've got a show April 11th. I don't know when this is coming out, but I'll shout that out as well.
This is live.
Oh, it's live? I thought this was going to be recorded. Oh, well.
All right.
Oh, wait, am I up?
Yep, what we
Oops.
listened to.
All right. So I'm not even going to attempt the name of this album. I will comment it in the chat later, the actual name. But the translation is Sports Finland by the band Saima. It is the album art's like 4 guys skiing. This was suggested to us by Smoley in the Gamels interview, and it's going to be great. I'm very excited for this.
I'm also excited for that one.
That'll be next
we got
week.
some heat coming up in these weeks.
Mhm.
Electric finish music. Let's go.
Also, before we forget, huge thanks, John, to coming out today and being a part of this. We always have fun getting anybody on the live, so.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great to have someone else who liked this a lot.
Yeah, I think the cheese
You
would
know,
have stood alone.
we'll get on the call afterwards. We'll
I would have fought this battle alone, but it was nice having the support. All right, guys. Well, if you made it this far, make sure you click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, a big thank you to John for coming on. And looks like we'll see you guys next week.